Hey, pasa familia de dinero. I'm your host, Hatcher, a truck driver on a detour towards wealth, and I hope that you joined us on the journey. And familia, what in the world happened to quantum? Now, I wouldn't be making this video if I didn't know, but if you don't know, I'll jump straight into it. Nvidia happened to quantum, and the CES presentation that happened recently, typically there's a huge bull run. That's why we saw a lot of the tech sector kind of like go up and up and up. And there was actually a Fox newscaster that said, hey, typically it's about sell the news, buy the rumor, sell the news, right? And that's exactly what had happened. And on top of that, we had economic data last week that came out that caused the whole overall stock market to drop. But there's something that has to be said when it comes down to the quantum space. It absolutely tanked over 50%, which was insane with a lot of the different ones. I'm talking about IONQ, Rigetti, quantum computing itself, and all these different kind of sectors. And the funniest thing is that there's a news article about Nvidia's Jensen Huang. Now, I like Nvidia. I have a graphics card from Nvidia. I like what they do. But I don't understand why Jensen Huang went into the pockets of those that were actually investing in it and said, hey, your investment's wrong, my investment's right, and quantum computing is not nowhere near where it should be. Give it about 15 to 30 years. And then we get an article today, let me go ahead and pull this up, that it's just mind-blowing that Nvidia's Blackwell AI server faced with overheating and glitching issues. Major customers, including Microsoft and Google, start cutting down orders. So Jensen Huang threw a stray to quantum computing, which then there is like two subsections within quantum computing. We did this before. And then all of a sudden destroyed a lot of people's portfolios if they didn't have stop losses. People have told me, what the heck happened? Now, listen, I don't give you guys price points when to buy. I don't tell you when to buy. Nobody has asked me, should I buy? I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I a crystal ball. This run within quantum computing is, number one, rare. It's not like something that has happened before. It is true. We've seen the height of where these stocks can go. So to me is, I took profit. I'm going to reinvest as it gets lower and lower and lower until we start seeing that, okay, quantum computing and the establishment like D-Wave and all these other ones are actually reputable companies. IONQ came out with a article that said the CEO of IONQ said, hey, we want to hit a $1 billion revenue by 2030. And so with that bullish news, you would think IONQ is going to pop. Well, no, unfortunately, IONQ is not going to pop because the voice of tech right now is Nvidia. Now, Nvidia has a struggle chart, right? Up until around a certain point, I believe it was like 2022, 2023, and then it really skyrocketed in 2024. And if you look at the time, it never really had that big boom like we're seeing within quantum. So my worry about quantum computing and its stocks is, well, it got knocked off by a large entity like Nvidia, right? So will it be able to restore that? And typically when I look at graphs like that, when a lot of this tech sector was blown up, it was due to the fact that everything in tech was working. Well, when you have Nvidia's Blackwell chip coming out, just like cutting down orders and whatnot. Well, next time around their next quarter, when they have to do their revenue and stuff like that, well, the projection that was supposed to hit is probably more than likely not going to hit. They are already facing major issues. Number one, Nvidia has had this delayed. The Blackwell chip, it has been delayed. And so to have this news is bad for the overall tech market. Okay, so the S&P, which is very confusing to me, is it went up today. What the heck? The SPY went up today. I'm like, oh, I thought Nvidia was a part of it, right? So when I look at it, I'm like, what is really pushing it? And you look at the Dow, okay, Dow's going up. Everything is starting to restore except for the tech sector. And it's really weird that quantum is attached to Nvidia when they don't do it. And Nvidia is concurrently, it's like rumored that they're hiring quantum computing engineers. So the quantum just caught a stray. And then all of a sudden, Jensen Huang said, hey, you know what? That's not the future we are. And then quantum computing is now hurt. And I'm very much frustrated because I look at these companies and I see what they're doing and I love it. And they're not as big as Nvidia, but they're working towards it. And I think that the work that they're doing, like Nvidia has already been split, right? They had a stock split already. I was a part of it. I gained a like additional couple of money due to the split. Okay, great. But the thing is like, man, these companies haven't ran up to like thousands of dollars as to what we know right now. Obviously, they probably had split at some point, but some of these companies have driven themselves out of the mud to get away from the penny stock, and now some of them are falling right back to where I found them. And it's really, really frustrating and sad and quite messed up. I'm actually quite upset, and I understand like you shouldn't put your feelings into it, but this news right here had really shown me how backstabbing and dirty a company could be. I'm not saying Nvidia is like a really bad I'm just like, man, there's a lot of people that were actually quite bullish and looked into the details and watching the finances, and that's the key, the fundamentals of the companies. Year over year is their revenues are going up in certain different companies. We break it down in the videos. And so to see again that it's dropping as though these companies are worth nothing is insane. I think honestly, what we should reflect on is that, okay, wow, how did, for example, Rigetti go from $5 to $19? It wasn't just due to the fact that, oh, it's going $5 to $19 for no reason. There were institutional buyers, there were retail buyers. So the demand was there, the technology was there, the proof was there, then all of a sudden it gets knocked down because this stock market does not make sense at all. Not at all. I can understand if the greater market goes down, but then all of a sudden quantum computing falls down way below everything else, even as though it proven itself to actually be a stable form of business in the future. That's insane. So, okay, we're going to bring down the price until one day we come back to the $19 and we'll cut it back down. It's like the stock market, I get it. It's in a fluctuation. It does what it does, but it has been more of about sentiment and also fear and greed index more than the fundamentals. It's like a company hits all marks. For example, Nvidia, they're not this prior earnings, but the one prior to that, they came out, had good earnings, met all metrics except for I think one or two. The stock tanked, and I think it went down all the way to $98. Obviously, that's the game. They want to go ahead and play this little elevator game, and I wouldn't be surprised if Nvidia price go up tomorrow because of this news. That's how nonsensical this whole entire stock space has been. And typically I seen a catalyst, like an individual like Roaring Kitty cause GME to go up, right? But typically you would see, okay, good earnings mean that there's a good future, and if it's hitting forecasted measurements for that company, it's a viable reason to invest. And I'm reading like Sam Walton's Made in America with Walmart, and they talked about how many times people would come online or they would type up an article so bearish and horrible, and then the stock would fall. And so people would leave, and they said, oh, Walmart's not going to be big. And I'm looking at these companies, I'm like, man, look, when it comes down to Rigetti, the healthcare system is going to need operating systems to streamline and make things a lot faster. That's what they're known for. When you look at, if we get off of the whole entire thing of quantum, we look at robotics, and we look at a company like Rigetti Robotics, you're like, okay, clubs, bars, they are right now hurting. And the coolest thing that will really bring in a lot of people to some of these smaller locations, like not the big cities like LA or something like that, you know, I hope everybody's doing okay out there. Obviously, it's been in shambles. But if you roll in a robotic system like Scorpion, and we went over it, and you put it into these establishments in the Midwest, out east, maybe over there in Texas, you make it fun to go into a bar. You're like, oh, wow, this is, or a club. Wow, these robots are making my drink, You know, you don't have to worry about tips. Obviously, it gets rid of like the human aspect of it, but it's inevitable. A lot of these jobs, you know, I say I'm a truck driver. They're already creating. I think Tesla, Tesla has a self-driving semi-truck, or excuse, they're working on it. There's also a company that is known for just making autonomous semi-trucks. It's already out there. So I come from a spot that I like Nvidia. I do. I like Nvidia as a company. I like what they're doing. I can see a major future for them. But doing what they did and then all of a sudden a few days later coming out with this news is like, you just said that quantum is no good for right now. I'm not exactly his words. Then all of a sudden the Blackwell chip comes out and it's been delayed. So wow. That's all I gotta say. That's why we saw a further dip within quantum, because people said, oh, okay, there's no future in tech. Even though it's blatantly obvious that yes, there's a future in tech. They just said, okay, I can hold off my money. And I'm like, where else are you gonna go? Well, you're gonna put it in bonds, you're gonna put it in what if you want single stocks, where are you gonna go? That's gonna grow your money faster than tech. That's my question. Small businesses, you can go into pharmaceuticals, bioscience, all these different kind of avenues. That's true. But what's going to be more sustainable? A lot of these little bioscience companies there's one that's truly actually kind of said that they could cure cancer. That was quite interesting. But overall, man, I'm just not happy. If you guys like this format where I talk, give you guys my opinion on a lot of things, just let me know down in the comments below. And familia de dinero, I'll catch you in the next one. Adios.